Joining us on Newsx, United States President Donald Trump has indicated that over the next 24 hours, a deal could happen. He said the next 24 hours could prove decisive in the months-long diplomatic effort between the United States of America and Iran. President Trump has claimed that a peace agreement is set to be signed today, raising hopes of a breakthrough that could stabilize the region and formally extend the fragile ceasefire currently in place. However, Tehran is disputing that timeline. Iranian state media says no final decision has yet been taken on the proposed memorandum of understanding, while hardliners within the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps are reportedly resisting key elements of the deal. Qatari mediators have now arrived in Iran in a last-minute push to bridge the remaining gaps. The stakes are high. A successful agreement could lead to progress on sanctions relief, maritime security in the Strait of Hormuz, and the future of Iran's nuclear program. But renewed tensions in Lebanon and fresh Israel-Hezbollah exchanges underscore how quickly the situation could unravel if negotiations fail. Joining us live at this point is Ambassador Bhashwati Mukherjee, former diplomat. We also have Major General G.D. Dwivedi, geopolitical expert, joining us live. Rohan Gunaratna, Middle East expert, also is joining the broadcast. Thanks for being with us. Ambassador Mukherjee, let me make a start with you first. How hopeful are you that the next 24 hours could lead to a deal finally, a ceasefire finally between US and Iran? Are we seeing an end to the war finally, or is this yet another false alarm?
I think I'm reasonably optimistic because there have been a lot of confirmations coming from a lot of countries. I'm not talking about Asim Munir or Pakistan, but others involved. It's also well known, Uday, that Iranians are difficult negotiators, even multilaterally. They always hold out to the last moment to get the best possible deal. So they may be holding out, but I think if not today or tomorrow, in the next few days, we should be coming close to an actual signed deal. I'm told that Trump wanted to do it today, 14th of June, because it's his birthday. For some strange reason, he thinks it's an auspicious day to sign the peace deal. But there are areas which have to be ironed out, where, again, Trump, he announces publicly issues which are still being negotiated. That makes deal making even more difficult when you're dealing with an adversary who is known to be very, very difficult at deal making. However, there are many people there. The Qataris are there. The others have got involved. The Omanis are there. So I really hope and pray over there, because we've gone through this so many times on television. And I think General Saab and myself, we have participated. It's almost like, like a funeral parlor kind of atmosphere. We don't know whether it will happen or not happen, or not happen.
Yes.
Has not happened so far, but I'm reasonably optimistic. I don't know whether it will happen today or tomorrow, but I'm reasonably optimistic about, let's say, a week from now, it should happen.
Major General Dwivedi, could it happen in the next 24 hours? The United States says they're optimistic. Donald Trump says it's imminent. It's also his birthday, as Ambassador Mukherjee pointed out. Could that be the return gift for the world, from the US president? Iran, though, is not optimistic at all. So, we are seeing two different statements from the two different parties for this deal. Does that make you optimistic or cautious?
Oh, well, I'm cautiously optimistic, and I, to some extent, go along with the ambassador. Well, I think that, any deal which actually fructifies, there are three stages. Firstly, there is a total disagreement. Then you cover the ground, come to somewhere midway. Then last minute glitches are there. And I think we are in the third stage, where the last minute glitches are being ironed out and all the mediators are making a push. To my mind, it will happen. Maybe 24 hours, 48 hours. I think the deal is very much in the offing. But the point today, it is not a final deal. It's going to be interim deal. And it's going to address the four major issues. Firstly, there should be cessation of hostilities. Firing must stop. I think that is the first point, which both the sides are in agreement. Then, of course, is the major issue of Strait of Hormuz. Well, both parties want to open it out, or also the world. But then, what is the ultimately how it is going to be managed. Now that's a major issue that needs to be ironed out, because Iranians would definitely like to have a say in the future how Strait of Hormuz operates, and then of course sanctions. Well, Iran wants the sanction to remove immediately. The Americans will do it in phased manner, but that's another issue which there'll be some kind of give and take. But the most, the issue that is very critical is the nuclear issue. In that, there's actually no agreement, because America want to defang the Iranians totally, but Iranians want to have certain capability to continue with their program. So all I can say is that four issues have been narrowed down. The last minute glitches are there. Maybe that nuclear issue is kept on the back burner, and other three issues possibly make a progress. But my final word is it's an interim deal. And my last thing is that deals on the paper must depend how they are implemented on the ground. Many a times you have a beautiful paper, but then it's all about implementation. That we'll have to see, wait and watch, Uday.
Yes, Rohan Gunarathan, let me draw you in here as well, of course, on the possibility of this deal. Have the latest statements from the US and Iran led you to believe that this deal perhaps could be happening very soon? We have seen Abbas Araghchi also put out a post which was interestingly reshared by Donald Trump as well, which means that obviously the two sides are now much more on the same page than they were, say, a week, 10 days ago. Could the next 24 hours provide a breakthrough, or are we still a few days away from that, Rohan Gunaratna? Then could it be postponed to after the G7?
Ambassador and the general are very optimistic. I'm not so optimistic, because Iran has three power centers. That is the religious center, the political center, and the military center. After the leaders were killed on February 28th, we saw that the IRGC has become the decision maker. IRGC will not compromise the military nuclear program. So it is very likely that the Iranians want to buy time. They will not compromise on the enriched uranium. On the other matters, they will have a negotiated settlement. But President Trump himself is very well informed. That is, he wants there to be a resolution on the nuclear issue where the enriched uranium is handed over to a third party. Second is that the facilities that can produce enriched uranium, these are supervised. And third is that the International Atomic Energy Agency will have the right to intrusively inspect what is happening in Iran. So as the general mentioned, that this could be an interim deal, but certainly if Iran is not going to work with the United States, President Trump's personality is such that he will order another strike against Iran.
Okay, let me, take that back to you, Ambassador Mukherjee. You also said, possibly a week. Does that make you believe then that if this deal does not actually happen in the next 24 to 36 hours, then it could be put off till after the G7? Perhaps the G7 also, could be used as an opportunity by Donald Trump to try and put pressure, through the meetings that he has on the sidelines and the statements that are given out both at this G7 level and after the polar sides, that the pressure is put on the Iranians to actually, sign the deal.
Actually, the nature of the man, Trump, is such that he doesn't like any credit for anything to be given to other people. Therefore, I very much doubt whether he would give credit to G7 for putting pressure for getting him a deal. If he had done it from day one, the G7 would have got him a deal. For that matter, if he had requested even India and others, we would have got him a deal. But he wants to be a transactional deal maker on one hand, but on the other hand, he can see the damage being done to the American economy, to inflation, to gas and gasoline prices rising. So he needs that deal. He also needs to save face, which is why I think that he may compromise on as far as the Straits of Hormuz is concerned. The G7 and many other countries, including India, are totally opposed to Iran or anyone forcing tankers to pay money to go through international choke points. That will create a horrible example for other choke points, including Straits of Malacca. So this is a do or die situation. People will not agree to pay. People can agree to a separate fund put aside to help Iran reconstruct. Not an issue. That can be a compromise formula. But as far as uranium enrichment is concerned, I completely agree that because of Trump's foolishness, he wiped out the leadership that could have got him a deal, and in the process has facilitated very, very hardliners on everything, including about human rights to women, etc. He has put them in power. They are calling the shots. They are not going to surrender the enriched uranium, and ultimately Trump will have to back down on that matter. That is a deal breaker, not a deal maker. Enriched uranium surrender is a deal breaker. Straits of Hormuz is not a deal breaker, but it could be a deal breaker if they charge very high money on tankers for crossing. And thirdly, the blockade, illegal blockade, due to which 3 Indian sailors also died in ships that were flagged according to their place of origin. That also has to stop. For that, the G7 will put pressure on him, because that is not only against international law, it is causing havoc among those who are merchant navy guys used to traversing the ocean freely in order to facilitate international trade and services. He has completely finished that off. And there are too many tankers stuck there whose sailors may still be alive, but they are developing, I'm told, psychiatric and neurological problems because of the stressful conditions in which they have been holed up there for too long. So I think that's why I feel that to save his face, there could be what he would call he would call it a temporary deal.
Yes. Do you believe?
Doesn't matter what he calls it.
Do you believe?
A deal.
Do you believe this deal, Major General Dwivedi, will be a, even if it is signed, will be a temporary one? Leaving, of course, the nuclear questions to perhaps a later date. It will immediately lead to opening of the Strait of Hormuz for now and cessation of hostilities. What will be the nature of this agreement as well, if it is indeed signed in the next 24 to 48 hours? Or within a week?
Well, in my last intervention, I made it very clear that this deal will be interim deal. We can't call it temporary, but it will be interim deal. And much depends on how it is implemented on the ground. But every deal has an anatomy. Every deal has a chronology. And I did a course on the negotiation in Harvard Kennedy School, and also later I was involved in some negotiations. The point is that both sides, they want to have certain cards up their hands. But today, President Trump doesn't have that ace, because the other side also has very strong cards. So therefore, one way or the other, I think President Trump will have to mellow down, at least on the nuclear issue. As far as the other 3 issues are concerned, yes, cessation of hostility, very important. And as it is, this ceasefire will be extended by another few months, whether deal or no deal. That's point number 1. The second point is Strait of Hormuz. Well, I think there's a global pressure on Iranians, no matter whether they have the different power centers, but the global pressure is on them. And they cannot actually go against the global pressure, so they'll also have to come down. And the third important is the sanctions. I think that is negotiable, because $24–25 billion is a very small amount. when you look at the larger kitty. So my summation or the way I summarize is that deal will get through. It may take 24 hours, 48 hours. Even the astrologers may not be able to make a guess at this stage, but certainly this deal will come through. Well, in what form? That will have to be seen, because there will be some, erasing and some additions, but ultimately the paper by and large is in place. The third point is President Trump has already said he has won the war, so he feels that he has a trump card. So that is again, and Iranians also feel that they also won the war. So both these parties are winners.